First contact and initial defense. The skies above Earth were deceptively peaceful that Tuesday morning. The usual network of satellites orbited silently, monitoring weather patterns, facilitating communications, and watching for any anomalies in the vast emptiness of space. It was just another day for the billions of humans going about their lives below, until it wasn't. At 3:47 GMT, every major observatory and space monitoring station across the globe detected something unprecedented. Massive objects were decelerating from faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system. Their energy signatures dwarfed anything humans had ever recorded. General Diana Reeves was awakened by the shrill ring of her secure phone. As the commander of United Earth Defense Forces, a position created just 3 years prior as a symbolic gesture of international cooperation, she had never expected to face an actual extraterrestrial threat. General, NORAD has confirmed multiple objects of unknown origin approaching Earth, reported Colonel Ethan Wade, his voice tight with controlled panic. Size estimates suggest capital ships, ma'am. Hundreds of them. Diana sat upright, instantly alert. How long until they reach Earth orbit? At current velocities, 18 hours. Alert all command centers worldwide. I'm on my way. She dressed quickly, her mind racing through protocols that had only existed as theoretical exercises until now. Across the Atlantic, at the International Space Science Institute in Zurich, Dr. Marcus Okafor stared at his monitor in disbelief. As one of Earth's foremost astrophysicists, he had spent his career searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now that evidence was hurtling toward Earth, and it didn't appear peaceful. The energy readings are off the charts, he muttered to his colleague, Dr. Valentina Petrova. Whatever propulsion system they're using, it's beyond anything we've even theorized. Valentina's eyes were fixed on a different set of readings. Marcus, look at these electromagnetic pulses. They're scanning us, systematically mapping every inch of our planet. Within hours, the news broke worldwide. Governments attempted to maintain calm, but social media erupted with speculation, fear, and in some quarters, religious fervor. Markets crashed. Some fled to rural areas while others gathered in city centers, looking skyward with a mixture of dread and awe. By the time the sun rose over Washington, D.C., the Pentagon had become the nerve center of Earth's response. Representatives from every major military power had assembled, setting aside decades of rivalries in the face of this unprecedented threat. General Reeves stood before them, her posture rigid but commanding. At 58, her silver-streaked hair was still kept in the same precise bob she'd worn throughout her 30-year military career. Ladies and gentlemen, 18 hours from now, we face contact with a technologically superior extraterrestrial force. Their intentions are unknown, but their approach suggests military formation. We must prepare for every scenario. The Russian general, Mikhail Baranov, spoke first. We have activated our Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. They can be ready to deploy within hours. The People's Liberation Army Space Force has armed all orbital platforms, added General Lin Wei of China. Similar reports came from representatives of India, the European Union, Japan, and Brazil. For the first time in human history, Earth's military might was being consolidated under one command. At the back of the room, Dr. Marcus Okafor was escorted in by security personnel. He had been flown directly from Zurich at General Reeves' request. Dr. Diana acknowledged him with a nod. Tell them what you told me. Marcus stepped forward, acutely aware that he was the only civilian in a room full of military brass. At 42, with his tall frame and thoughtful eyes, he projected a calm that belied his inner turmoil. The alien fleet consists of approximately 230 vessels of varying sizes. Based on their deceleration pattern, they possess technology at least several centuries beyond our own. He paused, allowing this sobering fact to sink in. However, we've detected consistent energy fluctuations in their shields. These fluctuations might, and I stress might, represent a vulnerability. A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. General Reeves continued, Dr. Okafor and a team of scientists will work to understand these fluctuations. Meanwhile, I propose a three-pronged approach: attempt communication, prepare global defenses, and evacuate major population centers where possible. The unity of purpose was unprecedented. Nations that had been adversaries for generations now collaborated, sharing military assets and intelligence. The nuclear powers placed their arsenals under joint control. Space agencies consolidated their resources to monitor the approaching fleet. As the alien armada drew closer, humanity made its first attempt at communication. Every radio telescope on Earth broadcast messages of peace in mathematical sequences designed to demonstrate intelligence. The response was silence. 12 hours before projected arrival, Dr. Okafor made a breakthrough. He burst into the command center, where General Reeves was coordinating with global defense forces. The shield fluctuations follow a predictable pattern, he explained, pulling up complex waveforms on the main display. They create momentary windows, microseconds where their defenses might be vulnerable to a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse. Diana's eyes narrowed. Can we exploit this? Theoretically. But we'd need to get close enough to deliver the pulse, and it would have to be synchronized perfectly with their shield cycle. How close? Marcus hesitated. Within atmospheric range. Essentially, we'd need to let them enter Earth's atmosphere before we could strike effectively. The implications were grim. Allowing the alien fleet to approach that closely meant risking immediate devastation of Earth's surface. Yet attempting to engage them farther out would likely prove futile against their superior technology. As the deadline approached, humanity prepared for the worst. Military personnel worldwide stood at highest alert. Civilians in major cities had been evacuated to underground shelters where possible, though many remained, either by choice or necessity. Finally, the moment arrived. The alien fleet entered Earth's orbit, their massive ships blocking out the stars. They were sleek, asymmetrical vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their very presence disrupted electronic systems worldwide. Then came the transmission. It appeared simultaneously on every communication device globally: televisions, phones, radios, computers. The message was in perfect English, yet possessed an artificial quality that sent chills down the spines of all who heard it. Humans of Earth. Your resources have been claimed by the Draxus Imperium. Surrender your planet and accept relocation, or face extinction. You have 1 Earth hour to comply. In the Pentagon Command Center, silence fell. The ultimatum was clear: Earth would be taken, whether humanity survived or not. General Reeves stood, her decision already made. Send our response. A simple message was transmitted: we wish to negotiate terms. It was a stalling tactic. Behind the scenes, Dr. Okafor and his international team of scientists were finalizing their countermeasure. Using the shield fluctuation data, they had designed a series of electromagnetic pulse generators that, if deployed at exactly the right moment, might disrupt the aliens' defensive systems. The aliens responded almost immediately: there are no terms to negotiate. Prepare for initial resource extraction. With those ominous words, several smaller vessels detached from the main fleet and began descending toward Earth's surface, targeting major cities that had not been fully evacuated. They're calling our bluff, Diana said grimly. All defense forces, prepare to engage. Dr. Okafor, is your team ready? Marcus looked up from his console, his face drawn with tension. The EMP generators are in place, but we haven't had time to test them properly. This is a one-shot gamble, General. It's all we've got. Coordinate with Tactical Command. When those ships enter the atmosphere, I want those pulses ready. The smaller alien vessels, each still the size of an aircraft carrier, descended toward New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, and Rio de Janeiro. Earth's conventional defenses responded immediately. Fighter jets scrambled worldwide, missile systems locked onto the targets, and ground-based laser arrays powered up. The first wave of missiles struck the alien ships' shields and dissipated harmlessly. Fighter pilots reported their weapons having no effect before their aircraft were swatted from the sky by energy weapons that defied physical laws as humans understood them. In the command center, the mood darkened with each failed attempt. The aliens' technology was simply too advanced. Their ships continued their implacable descent. "Dr. Okafor, we're running out of options," Diana said, her voice steady despite the mounting casualties reported from around the globe. Marcus was coordinating with scientists in 5 locations, each monitoring one of the EMP generators positioned to target an approaching alien vessel. "The ships are almost in range. Their shield fluctuations are accelerating as they enter the atmosphere. That's good. It means more frequent windows of vulnerability. All defense forces, focus fire on the designated targets," Diana ordered. "We need to keep them distracted until the EMPs can deploy." What followed was a desperate holding action. Earth's military forces threw everything they had at the alien ships, not to destroy them, which seemed impossible, but to occupy their attention while the real counterstrike was prepared. Captain Javier Rodriguez, leading a squadron of F-35s over New York, knew his mission was essentially a suicide run. "Maintain formation," he ordered his pilots. "Remember, we just need to keep their targeting systems focused on us." His squadron weaved through the sky, dodging energy beams that vaporized several aircraft in seconds. Yet they persisted, drawing the alien vessels' fire away from the generators being positioned below. Similar scenes played out across the globe as military forces sacrificed themselves to buy time. The alien ships, perhaps overconfident in their technological superiority, seemed content to methodically eliminate these annoyances before proceeding with their resource extraction. In Zurich, Marcus watched the shield fluctuation patterns with growing anticipation. "The pattern is stabilizing. I think they believe our conventional weapons are our only defense. They haven't detected the EMP generators." "How much longer?" Diana asked, watching the devastating losses mounting on the tactical display. 3 minutes until optimal firing solution. All generators need to fire simultaneously." Those 3 minutes felt like an eternity. Reports of destruction poured in from all targeted cities. The alien vessels had begun deploying smaller craft that were systematically destroying infrastructure. Finally, Marcus gave the signal. "All generators ready. Firing on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." Across 5 locations worldwide, the specially designed EMP generators activated simultaneously, each releasing a precisely calibrated pulse timed to the nanosecond to coincide with the shield's fluctuation cycle. For a heartbeat, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the alien vessels faltered. Their shields flickered visibly, creating a ripple effect across their hulls. It wasn't enough to disable them completely, but it created momentary vulnerability, enough for Earth's conventional weapons to finally have an effect. "All forces, concentrate fire on the shield breach points," Diana ordered. The response was immediate. Every available missile, artillery shell, and energy weapon targeted the 5 alien vessels at precisely the locations where their shields had weakened. In New York, Captain Rodriguez's remaining fighters unleashed their payloads directly into a fluctuating section of the alien ship's hull. Similar strikes occurred simultaneously around the world. For the first time, humanity's weapons found their mark. Explosions bloomed across the alien vessels, small at first, then growing as secondary systems were compromised. The New York ship listed to one side, its smooth trajectory disrupted. In the command center, a cheer went up as the tactical display showed actual damage being inflicted on the invaders. It wasn't victory, not even close, but it was proof that humanity could fight back. The technologically superior Draxus Imperium had underestimated Earth's defenders. The damaged alien vessels began to retreat, climbing back toward the safety of their fleet. The EMP effect was temporary, and their shields were already regenerating, but the message had been sent: Earth would not surrender without a fight. As the ships withdrew, a new transmission came through: your resistance is noted. Prepare for full military response. General Reeves looked around the room at the faces of Earth's unified military command, then at Dr. Okafor, whose brilliant insight had given them this small victory. "We've bought ourselves time," she said. "Now we prepare for the real battle." The alien fleet regrouped in high orbit, clearly reassessing their approach to this unexpectedly resilient planet. Humanity had survived the first engagement, but the war for Earth had only just begun. Marcus stared at the data flowing in from the brief engagement, already formulating improvements to the EMP technology. "We can make the generators more powerful, target more ships simultaneously." Diana nodded. "How quickly?" 48 hours, maybe less with global cooperation. "You'll have whatever you need." She turned to address the assembled military leaders. "Gentlemen, ladies, we've proven they can be hurt. Now we need to prove they can be defeated." As night fell across a world still standing defiant, humanity prepared for the greatest challenge in its history. The odds remained overwhelming, but for the first time since the alien fleet appeared, there was something new in the hearts of Earth's defenders. Hope. Operation Thunderstrike. The 48 hours following Earth's first defensive victory were a blur of frantic activity. While the Draxus Imperium regrouped in high orbit, humanity seized its narrow window of opportunity. In underground facilities across the globe, scientists and engineers worked without rest, refining the EMP technology that had proven so crucial. General Diana Reeves had not left the Pentagon Command Center since the initial engagement. Running on military-grade stimulants and sheer determination, she coordinated the global defense effort from a station that now resembled a war room from some apocalyptic film. "Status report," she demanded, as the latest satellite imagery appeared on the main display. Colonel Ethan Wade, looking as exhausted as she felt, pointed to the reorganization of the alien fleet. "They've adopted a defensive formation. The damaged ships have been moved to the center of the fleet, presumably for repairs. Their smaller vessels appear to be forming a protective screen." "They're adapting," Diana noted. "We won't catch them off guard again so easily." "There's more," Wade continued. "They've dispatched scout ships to the far side of the moon. We believe they're establishing a forward base there." Diana's expression hardened. The aliens were settling in for a prolonged campaign, exactly what Earth couldn't afford. Each passing day drained their limited resources and gave the technologically superior invaders time to analyze human tactics. "What about civilian casualties from the first attack?" she asked. "Still coming in, but early estimates suggest 30,000 dead, twice that injured." Wade's voice remained professional, but the strain showed in his eyes. Diana allowed herself a moment's grief before refocusing. "And Dr. Okafor? He's requested your presence in Laboratory 7. Says he has something you need to see personally." The underground laboratory complex had been converted from a nuclear bunker built during the Cold War. Now it housed the most brilliant scientific minds from every nation, working together with unprecedented collaboration. Dr. Marcus Okafor stood at the center of this intellectual storm, directing teams of physicists, engineers, and computer scientists. When Diana entered, he was examining a holographic model of what appeared to be the alien shield system. "General," he greeted her, looking up. Despite not having slept in days, his eyes were bright with excitement. "We've made a breakthrough. Tell me something good, Doctor. We need it." Marcus gestured to the hologram. "We've analyzed the data from our first encounter and identified the algorithmic pattern in their shield fluctuations. It's not random, it's a nested fractal sequence that repeats every 3.7 seconds. Diana raised an eyebrow. In English, please. We can predict exactly when and where their shields will be weakest, Marcus explained, his hands animated as he manipulated the hologram. More importantly, we've developed a way to force additional fluctuations, essentially creating our own windows of vulnerability. For the first time in days, Diana felt a surge of genuine hope. How do we deploy it? That's the complicated part. Marcus swiped the hologram aside, revealing a new design. We've developed what we're calling disruption drones. Small, fast, and expendable. Each carries a miniaturized version of our EMP generator, tuned to the specific frequency of the alien shields. He pulled up technical specifications. The drones approach the alien vessels, emit a precisely calibrated pulse that forces a shield fluctuation, and then conventional weapons can strike at exactly that moment. How many of these drones can we build in the next 24 hours? Diana asked. With global manufacturing capacity diverted to this project? Thousands. Diana nodded, already formulating a strategy. And our heavy weapons? Dar. Petrova has been working on adapting nuclear warheads to exploit the shield vulnerabilities, Marcus replied. The delivery system is the challenge, we need to get them close enough to the alien ships at exactly the right moment. I might have a solution for that, came a voice from the doorway. Captain Javier Rodriguez stood there, his flight suit still bearing scorch marks from his narrow escape over New York. At 35, he was one of Earth's most decorated pilots, with a reputation for accomplishing the impossible. Captain, Diana acknowledged him. I thought you were coordinating the fighter response in the North American sector. I was, Javier replied, stepping forward. But I've been developing a tactic with the remaining squadron leaders. We call it the Wasp Strike. He joined them at the holographic display, pulling up a simulation of fighter craft engaging an alien vessel. The standard approach doesn't work, they track and neutralize conventional attack patterns too efficiently. But if we use the disruption drones to create shield vulnerabilities, then hit those points with synchronized microstrikes from multiple directions simultaneously. Diana watched the simulation with growing appreciation. Like wasps swarming a larger predator. Exactly, Javier confirmed. No single strike delivers the killing blow, but the cumulative damage overwhelms their defense systems. Marcus studied the simulation with a scientist's eye. The timing would need to be perfect. Millisecond precision across multiple attack vectors. That's why I'm here, Javier explained. We need to integrate the drone deployment with our fighter tactics. One coordinated assault package. Diana looked between the scientist and the pilot, two different worlds, now working in perfect harmony. This was humanity at its best, she thought. Faced with extinction, old boundaries dissolved. How soon can you be ready? She asked. 24 hours for full deployment, Marcus replied. You have 18, Diana told them. The latest intelligence suggests the aliens are preparing for a second wave of attacks. As she left the laboratory, Diana was already on her comlink to the United Security Council. This is General Reeves. Begin preparations for Operation Thunderstrike. All military assets are to be repositioned according to Protocol Sigma-6. Across the globe, humanity marshaled its forces. The plan was audacious, perhaps suicidal, but it represented Earth's best hope. Rather than waiting for the aliens to attack again, they would take the fight to the enemy. In facilities from Bangalore to Buenos Aires, disruption drones rolled off production lines. Fighter squadrons practiced the complex maneuvers required for the Wasp Strike tactic. Nuclear submarines silently repositioned to optimal launch positions. 17 hours later, Diana stood in the command center, watching as the final pieces fell into place. The alien fleet remained in high orbit, their massive ships like dark stars against the backdrop of space. "They're moving," Colonel Wade reported suddenly. "Multiple vessels breaking formation. Trajectory suggests another attack run." Diana's expression remained impassive, though her pulse quickened. "How many ships?" 15 capital ships, with escort vessels. Much larger force than before. "They're not taking chances this time," Diana observed. "Target cities?" "Tracking suggests Beijing, New Delhi, Cairo, London, and Los Angeles." Diana took a deep breath. This was happening sooner than expected, but the fundamentals of their plan remained viable. "Initiate Operation Thunderstrike. All defense forces to battle stations." The command center erupted into controlled chaos as the order was relayed worldwide. On screens around the room, military assets lit up as they activated, fighter squadrons taking off, missile systems coming online, disruption drone carriers moving into position. In his laboratory, Dr. Marcus Okafor and his team monitored the shield frequencies of the approaching alien vessels. "The fluctuation patterns are different this time," he noted with concern. "They've modified their shields based on our previous attack." His fingers flew over the controls as he recalibrated the disruption drones. Adaptive technology. "They're learning." At Edwards Air Force Base, Captain Rodriguez led his squadron toward the alien vessel targeting Los Angeles. The sleek F-35s had been modified with enhanced ECM systems to help mask their approach. "Remember the drill," he instructed his pilots over the secure channel. "We don't engage until the drones create the disruption windows. Precision is everything." Above them, the alien ship descended through the atmosphere, its massive hull creating atmospheric disturbances that buffeted the fighters. Unlike the previous attack, this vessel was accompanied by smaller craft, hunter-killers designed to intercept Earth's fighters. Drone deployment in 60 seconds, came the notification from command. Javier led his squadron in a wide arc, maintaining distance from the alien vessel while staying just outside the effective range of its weapons. The hunter-killers moved to intercept, their movements eerily precise. "Hold formation," Javier ordered. "Wait for the signal." Across the globe, similar scenes played out as Earth's defenders positioned themselves for the coordinated strike. In Beijing, Russian and Chinese fighters flew side by side. Over Cairo, Israeli and Egyptian squadrons maintained position in perfect harmony. In the command center, Diana received confirmation that all forces were in position. "Deploy the disruption drones," she ordered. Thousands of small, unmanned craft launched simultaneously from positions around the globe. They accelerated toward the alien vessels at speeds that would have killed human pilots, their sole purpose to deliver their EMP payload before being destroyed. The aliens detected the approach and responded with a barrage of energy weapons. Hundreds of drones were vaporized instantly, but their sheer numbers ensured that many survived the initial defense. First wave reaching optimal range, Marcus reported from his station. Initiating disruption sequence. The drones that reached their targets discharged their specialized EMP pulses, each calibrated to the specific shield frequency of its target. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen, then the alien shields began to fluctuate, creating visible distortions across their surfaces. Disruption successful, Marcus confirmed. Shield vulnerabilities detected on all targets. Transmitting coordinates now. Javier received the targeting data in his fighter's systems. All wings, this is Captain Rodriguez. Execute Wasp Strike, Pattern Delta. His squadron split into 5 groups, each approaching the alien vessel from a different vector. The hunter-killers moved to intercept, but they couldn't cover all approaches simultaneously. The first missiles struck precisely where the shields were weakest. Unlike the previous engagement, these weren't conventional warheads but specialized penetrators designed to exploit the shield disruptions. They burrowed through the momentary vulnerabilities, detonating against the alien hull. Direct hits confirmed, Javier reported, banking his fighter hard to avoid retaliatory fire. Moving to secondary targets. Similar reports came in from around the globe as the coordinated attack unfolded. The alien vessels, for all their technological superiority, hadn't anticipated such a precisely synchronized assault. In the command center, Diana watched as the tactical display showed successful strikes against all alien targets. "Maintain pressure," she ordered. "Don't give them time to adapt." The second wave of disruption drones deployed, forcing new vulnerabilities in the alien shields. Earth's fighters exploited each opening with surgical precision, gradually accumulating damage against the invaders. But the aliens were quick to respond. Their hunter-killers adopted new tactics, specifically targeting the disruption drones before they could reach their effective range. Energy weapons of devastating power swept through Earth's fighter formations, exacting a terrible toll. "We're losing too many aircraft," Colonel Wade reported grimly. Los Angeles Squadron at 40% strength. Cairo at 35%. Diana had anticipated this. Initiate Phase 2. From submarines and hardened silos around the world, specialized missiles launched toward the engaged alien vessels. These weren't aimed at the ships directly but at carefully calculated points in space near the ongoing battles. Phase 2 weapons approaching deployment zones, Wade confirmed. As the missiles reached their designated positions, they detonated, not with nuclear explosions, but with massive electromagnetic pulses specifically tuned to the alien shield frequencies. The effect was like a massive version of the disruption drones, creating much larger and longer-lasting shield vulnerabilities. Phase 2 disruption successful, Marcus called out, his voice strained but triumphant. Shield collapse detected on multiple vessels. Diana leaned forward. "All forces, concentrate fire on the designated weak points. Everything you've got, now." Earth's remaining fighters, bombers, and missile platforms unleashed their full arsenals against the exposed sections of the alien ships. For the first time, humanity's weapons struck with devastating effect against the invaders. Over Los Angeles, Javier led his remaining fighters in a desperate attack run against the now vulnerable alien vessel. "Target their propulsion system," he ordered. "Everything we have left." The combined firepower of Earth's defenders finally began to tell. One by one, the alien ships suffered critical damage. Their sleek hulls, once seemingly impervious, now ruptured under the sustained assault. In Beijing, the alien vessel targeting the city began to lose altitude, its systems failing. Over Cairo, another listed dramatically to one side, secondary explosions cascading along its length. "It's working," Colonel Wade reported, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. "We're actually hurting them." The alien vessel over Los Angeles, however, proved more resilient. Despite significant damage, it continued its descent toward the city, its weapons still active. "We need to take that ship down now," Diana ordered. "Before it reaches population centers." Javier's squadron had expended nearly all their ordnance, but they weren't finished yet. "I have an idea," he transmitted to command. "But it's a one-way trip." Diana hesitated only briefly. "Proceed, Captain." "At your discretion." Javier addressed his remaining pilots. "I need 3 volunteers for a special mission. The rest of you, clear the engagement zone." Despite knowing what such a mission likely meant, hands raised immediately. Javier selected his companions, and the 4 fighters broke away from the main squadron. "We're going to overload our reactors inside their primary weapon housing," he explained as they approached the damaged section of the alien vessel. The combined explosion should trigger a chain reaction through their power systems. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. The 4 fighters accelerated toward the alien ship, dodging increasingly erratic defensive fire. "It's been an honor," one of the pilots transmitted simply. "For Earth," another added. Javier led them into the final approach, aiming for a jagged breach in the alien hull that exposed part of its weapon systems. Remember your families. Remember Earth. The 4 fighters disappeared into the breach, their reactors already cycling into deliberate overload. Seconds later, a massive explosion erupted from within the alien vessel, followed by a cascade of secondary detonations that rippled along its length. The ship's trajectory faltered, then failed completely. It began to break apart, massive sections shearing away as its structural integrity collapsed. What remained of the vessel veered away from Los Angeles, crashing into the Pacific Ocean many miles offshore. Similar scenes played out around the world as humanity's desperate gambit paid off. The aliens, overconfident in their technological superiority, had not expected such innovative tactics from a supposedly inferior species. In orbit, the main alien fleet detected the destruction of their attack force. For several tense minutes, Diana and her command staff waited for their response. Would they launch an all-out attack, or reconsider their invasion? The answer came in the form of movement. The alien fleet began to reposition, pulling back from immediate Earth orbit to a more distant position. They're retreating, Colonel Wade observed cautiously. Regrouping at minimum. Diana wasn't ready to celebrate yet. They're reassessing. We've proven more difficult to conquer than they anticipated. As if confirming her assessment, a new transmission came through from the alien fleet. Your resistance exceeds expectations. The Draxus Imperium acknowledges your species' combat effectiveness. We offer terms for negotiation. A hush fell over the command center. This was unprecedented, the aliens were actually proposing talks. Diana's expression remained cautious. Respond, we are prepared to negotiate, but only as equals. Any discussion must begin with immediate cessation of hostilities. The aliens' reply came quickly, agreed. We will withdraw to lunar orbit as a gesture of good faith. Prepare your representatives. As the alien fleet began its withdrawal, the tension in the command center eased slightly. It wasn't victory, not yet, but it was a chance for humanity to catch its breath. Dar. Marcus Okafor joined Diana at the central display, watching the alien ships retreat. They underestimated us, he observed quietly. A common mistake when facing humanity, Diana replied. We may not have their technology, but we have something they clearly lack. What's that? Diana gazed at the tactical display, thinking of Captain Rodriguez and his pilots, of the scientists who had worked without rest, of the unprecedented global cooperation that had made this moment possible. Determination, she answered. When faced with extinction, humans don't go quietly. We fight, we adapt, we overcome. She turned to him with the first genuine smile he had seen since the invasion began. And apparently, even advanced alien civilizations need to learn that lesson the hard way. The alien fleet continued its withdrawal, moving beyond immediate striking distance of Earth. There would be negotiations now, and humanity would enter them not from a position of weakness, but as a species that had proven its right to exist. In the days that followed, memorial services honored the fallen defenders of Earth. Captain Javier Rodriguez and his 3 pilots were posthumously awarded the highest military honors their nations could bestow. Their sacrifice had saved millions. 2 weeks after Operation Thunderstrike, Diana stood in a new facility constructed specifically for the upcoming negotiations with the Draxus Imperium. Dr. Okafor and his team continued to analyze alien technology, making breakthroughs that would advance human science by decades. Do you think they'll honor the peace? Marcus asked as they reviewed the latest intelligence on the alien fleet. Diana considered the question carefully. They're reassessing the cost of conquering Earth. If that cost seems too high, they'll negotiate in good faith. If not. She left the thought unfinished. We'll be ready, Marcus completed for her. Next time, we won't be starting from scratch.